Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Value Talk. And today's Value Talk is the guest speaker is a repeat, and that too on popular demand. I think a lot has to do with first of all his very super hit talk earlier, and secondly that resettlement course जो शुरू हुआ है उसमें भी cyber security के काफी course आए हैं, and people want to use these courses and also look for some other courses, how they can empower themselves and leverage the name of IMs and ISC etc. Resettlement course के और बाहर कौन से course कर सके. तो we had a very strong demands. People had been requesting me to get Commander Bhim ready again. And Bhim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
Once again, you're back to Value Talks. You're becoming part of Value Talks, huh? Okay, Bhim, welcome to the show. And I will just give a brief introduction for those who have not seen his earlier talk and who do not know Commander Bhim Reddy. Commander Bhim Reddy is a naval officer of the 2000 batch, January 2000, and he took early release from Navy in July 2022. And while he was in Navy, he has been part of many projects in IT, and he was the chief instructor and head of computer application center INS Shivaji. He was deputy commandant IT office at headquarters Eastern Northern Command, and he has quite a few notable achievements while in service. And post PMR, he founded a startup with the brand name of Offensive Defense along with two other co-founders. And he is currently holding the position of Chief Executive Officer. Now, the vision of the company was very interesting, and that is what drew me to Commander Bhim Reddy. The vision of the company is to achieve global leadership in cybersecurity, skill development, consulting, and advisory. Now, that means that they are not only creating brand for themselves, they are taking the big wigs, the big certifications like CISM, CISSP, etc. head on. Now that's a very, very bold step to do, and I'm sure, and he is getting a lot of traction. I think towards the end, we will also talk about the journey of offensive defense. I know that you are already in talks with many renowned universities. So we'll talk about that. आज की जो talk है, uska jo
you were introducing offensive defense, and there is a lot of traction that is happening with universities and all that you're aware.
Okay, yes. So आज की जो talk है उसका जो aim है, जो उद्देश्य है, वो ये था कि if somebody has to make a career in cybersecurity, how he should go about it, and secondly also if somebody is wanting to pursue entrepreneurship venture in cybersecurity domain or related domain, so how should you go about it? These are the two aims of today's talk. And Commander Bhim is actually the right person to talk about both, as he is a dual expert. He is an entrepreneur and also a cybersecurity expert, and he is having a very successful venture which is actually striding ahead very fast. So Bhim, can you share your experience, first of all, transitioning from the armed forces to the corporate sector in this particular field, and what were the challenges you faced and how did you overcome it?
Okay, thank you, sir. Firstly, Manish sir, thank you very much for making me part of this talk once again. And I'm really glad to, last time the response was very good, and a lot of people later also came back to me and complimented, which is very positive. So I was very enthusiastic as soon as you told me that you can come once again. Thanks for this opportunity. Yes, my journey, of course, as I see, I think one or two people I know are also there as part of this meeting. Glad to see you all. Ashok, I think Gaurav is there. Yeah. Okay. So my transition started, though it was just 1 year back that I came out of the service. The transition actually started about 3 years before that. Right, in 2019, when I decided that I need to get out ASAP, that is when I started my preparation. I always had this thing in my mind, especially during my tenure in the DIT, the Directorate of Information Technology in Delhi. At that time, we were scouting around for a lot of these courses in IT and cybersecurity, especially for the newly formed Directorate of IW, right? And then I realized how difficult it is to actually train people in this particular field. Right from there on, before that, of course, we were working in the IT. I was part of the establishment of the SOC for the Navy, Security Options Center for the Navy, for the new next new and all that. I was part of all those things. But this particular field really fascinated me because there was nobody in India who could train our people, right? Our people who are part of the cyber groups now, or who were part of the IW organizations earlier, and also the to train rest of them. So we had to actually, everything that was available was American, and all those people who are here were training people to take those American certifications, right? We don't have anything indigenous as far as cybersecurity is concerned, and then the market is growing quite a lot. So that fascinated me a lot. I thought initially maybe I'll take up some job and all that. But after 2019, when I was just about to get out of service, there was this whole COVID thing. So it got postponed ahead. So I got a little bit more time and I met a lot of people in this particular field. The key for an entrepreneurial venture to be successful is to meet the right kind of people, and also to have a vision that is long term, not a short term vision or something like that. For those who want to be entrepreneurs and who want to have their own ventures or have their own startups also, it's very important to have good co-founders, right? Have people who share the vision with you. They could be from the service, they could be from otherwise also. But this is what. So in that case, in my case, I was fortunate to get some good people on board with me who shared this kind of vision, right? And I wanted somebody from India to do this, to have a certification of our own, to train people on our own. Of course, we can take the technology, we can take everything that is available in the market with the other countries that have matured over a period of time. Take the technology, everything, but have an indigenous kind of a setup for this particular field. And in the last 1 year, that of course, when I was in IIM undergoing my PRC, that is the time when I attended some interviews also, at the same time started working for the establishment of this company. Then we spoke to a lot of people in academics, corporates, and all those things. And everybody was very positive. The time was very right for an Indian company to start this kind of a thing. And it just took off. In 1 year, the progress is really good. We've got about 4 or 5 batches of this cybersecurity courses going on with us. In fact, about 30 transitioning and veterans have also training with us. And we've got partnerships going with some universities. So that's really, the progress has been good, and we're getting good revenue also out of it. So the company is also blooming well. And we are venturing into other things like making cybersecurity specialized products like SIEM and, some kind of crypto, the advanced products and all that. So it's a very diverse field, and then it's very exciting, in fact. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. I mean, ये जान के बहुत ही ज़्यादा खुशी हुई कि you guys are doing so well and the traction is really good. लेकिन Beam, one thing, I mean, didn't you come across people who were discouraging, who said things like, "What are you doing? The certifications are recognized world over, CISSP, CISM. These are the gold standard of the industry, and who will go for you?" These kind of, because this is a very logical response to.
Yes, sir. Yes,
it's
very pertinent question.
And did it deter you?
A very pertinent question, because that is the first thing that people have asked. A lot of people, in fact, who've been established as CISOs, CIOs, CTOs, and all, also when we were talking to them, are veterans also, in fact, are people who are doing good. They were also saying the same thing, that these people are established for donkey's years. America is in the business of internet from day one of establishment of internet in 1969, and they are the ones. DARPA, which is the equivalent of DRDO equivalent for us. What DRDO is for us, DARPA is for US. They are the ones who have actually invented the internet, right? They are in the game. They are the ones who introduce certifications like, industry bodies with certifications like CISSP and all that. The question is natural that, when you're a small guy and taking on a big industry, the question comes naturally. But criticism is good, sir. It is good to hear to people who are deterring you, and at the same time, when you take in the criticism in a positive way and see how you can establish yourself, and also how you can make a very, very fortified kind of a product. Even this particular courses or the things that they are offering are also products only. If you can take a fortified product and put it in the market, that takes into consideration of the experiences of all these people who've been there for 40-50 years, and then put it out in the market. is, it's something that is quite exciting, and we have taken their learnings also along with us. And for an Indian company like us to come and take on, this was the right time. Actually, the timing also matters quite a lot in a go to market, in any entrepreneurial journey. The timing is very, very important. It so happened that after COVID, and in fact this was the time when the entire Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat is going on everywhere. So there's a lot of push for even Indians. So even the Indian armed forces are right now are not, they're also fed up with, why do we have to every time go to an American agency or abroad? We need somebody indigenous, somebody from our own fraternity to come out. So timing was really right, actually. And universities, what was more surprising was the colleges and universities are quite open to this. Before this, they were not, but now they are open to our own people taking on these things. Because at the end of it, they want students to come out of the college, get the right skill and the right kind of they're in the right frame of mind to get the job, get the first job, a good job.
Right. So come what may, you were determined and you went ahead. So that shows ki you had the conviction. You were convinced what you're doing is right, and that's what has turned out to be right, actually. So how do the skills and knowledge you gain in the armed forces during your service help you and translate to the cybersecurity industry? Are there any specific areas where service professionals, armed forces professionals, have a natural advantage?
Yes, sir. Definitely, we have a lot of advantage. First thing
And
is
why I ask, sorry to cut you in between. Why I ask this question is that we are always saying we are GD, even if somebody is from technical arms, including me, when I left, we were quite apprehensive about cyber security. We thought that it's something very, very, super technical. And so people are quite apprehensive in armed forces. But where do we have the natural advantage?
So coming to your question, I put it into twofold, sir. One is the people coming from the armed forces. The first advantage that we have is good communication skills and leadership skills, right? How we conduct ourselves very well. Some people might become rigid over a period of time. That is general perception, of course. But of late, a lot of officers that are coming out of, I would say 95% of the officers are coming out, are open to learning, and they already have a lot of skills which are, in the outside organization, you spend 20, 30 years in service. You will not find people with this kind of skill set where you have that natural leadership, where you push your people, you motivate your people to push them to the limits, right? And very diverse. We have dealt with a very diverse kind of the people that are there with us, whether are sailors, airmen, jawans who come from all over the country. They're coming from Manipur, they're coming from Jammu Kashmir, they're coming from all over the country. So it's a very, very diverse. Each one of them are coming and bringing in their own culture, and then you are leading all of them. This is what the entire corporate is talking about today. Management about diversity, culture, different culture, diverse teams and all those things. We brought together all these people and aligned them to one particular goal, the going and achieving that particular mission. So you brought people from different domains. That itself is a very, very, very deep and very profound skill that we have got, right? They might just say leadership skill. It is not just leadership skill. It is a all-encompassing, skill that drives people to achieve the mission of the organization. And entire, corporate is looking for this kind of skills. That is the biggest advantage that we have got today. And then you've got a diverse exposure. Everybody who spent 5 years, 10 years in the service also has got exposure to such large. You have managed things that are of national security importance. Okay. And if you say I'm a generalist over here, it's actually laughable, because you're not a generalist. None of us are generalists. Even if you're a gunnery specialist, a gunner, or an artillery officer, or you're a ex-officer navigator in the Air Force, in the Navy, or you have anywhere, even if you are a GD officer in the Air Force or a air traffic controller, you have your own specialization. And during your specialization, you have not just dealt with that, you've dealt with everything around it, right? So there's a lot of organization skills that come in, a lot of project management skills that come in, a lot of leadership skills and leading the team skills that come in, which is a very big advantage when you go outside, right? And then when it comes to a specialized field, then you have to select, right? Then you have to actually target a particular organization, target a particular job or a field that you want to go in. Okay, for example, if you're talking about cyber today, if you have to actually see whether I'm suitable, not suitable, I will tell you how everybody is suitable for a cybersecurity kind of a role, because security mindset is already there with us, right? And then you choose a particular field, whether it is cybersecurity, whether it is any other field, and then you concentrate on that and prepare your resume or make your preparation accordingly so that you target that particular, profession outside. So that's how generally I would say no one should consider themselves as a generalist or a GD officer. GD officer is within the service, right? But when you go outside, you're already a specialist. I don't know if I should have given an example. If you give an example.
No, it's right. I fully agree with you. And the question was asked basically to force people to do a little bit of introspection, and also to have confidence, so that they have some kind of confidence that they have some head-on advantage over the others. It's not only technical. You need to have mindset for security. We people in the armed forces, we know security. We know what are the layers of security, what is involved, what is the threat perception, etc., etc. So वो चीज जो है किसी और को यही समझने में थोड़ी देर हो जाती है, जबकि to us it comes naturally. So I fully agree with you, and I wish I was a little more wiser some years back, so I would have been in this industry. But no regrets. Anyways, so I don't know. I think whether you have answered this question, but what are the key differences between cybersecurity in armed forces and the corporate sector? Or are there any overlapping areas?
Okay, sure. So to answer this particular question, can I share some slide presentations?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Sure. I'll just share my screen. So it becomes a little easier.
I mean, what I wanted to ask for, what are those? Are there any similarities or overlapping areas that can be leveraged by transitioning officers?
Definitely. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so basically, see, if we talk about building blocks of cybersecurity, I mean, this is absolute building block of cybersecurity, which is defense in depth or layered security, right? In the last webinar that I did also, I covered the same thing, that if you have to tell this particular concept to an officer in the armed forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, or any of the security forces that are there, I don't have to do any explanation, because we are generally aware of what is defense in depth or what is layered security, right? For example, even if you have to just enter a normal unit, which is not on the front or whatever, normal unit, and then go to, say, commanding officer's house or a commandant's house, you have to cross multiple layers, right? You have to cross layers of, firstly, there is a DSC Jawan there, then there is a perimeter security that is there. Nowadays, there are a lot of cameras and everything that is positioned. And then you have those boom barriers out here. Once you prove your identity, then you go inside. And when you go inside, when you go to commandant's house, before that itself, there is another layer of security. There is another DSC Javana. There's another layer of security that is there over there. And then when you reach out there, you're reaching to the person, or you're reaching to that asset that you want to actually reach there. So this is what is defense in depth. So when you put it in the cyber domain, it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing, same kind of a defense. If you have to, supposing there is a server or a data center which is hosting some applications for us. Okay, I hope this much people will be able to understand in the most basic terms. That data center will have certain applications that are there on it. Then on the outwards, the server will have certain kind of protections over it. And then that to access the data center itself, you'll have to go through some biometric lock or something like that. Some lock will be there on the door and all that. And when you go out, the entire defense will turn into a physical domain, which is basically you will have locks and security guards and all those things, access locks and all those things, right? So a lot of it, when it comes to cyber domain, it's more of common sense, and we already know this kind of a thing exists, right? Defense in depth or layered security already exists, right? If you just have to translate it into some kind of the cyber domain, right?
So Bhim, what you're trying to say is, whereas in your earlier example, commanding officer was the asset whom you were trying to access, here the asset is server or the applications which are there on that server. Yes. And if you want to access those applications or the server, it has the similar kind of layered defense.
Yes. When you enter a particular, you go to a website, Then if you have to access a certain information that is not publicly available, then that means you'll have to have a password for it. You'll have to have a username and a password. That means you have approached somebody who has given you those credentials, similar to issuing an iCard or something like that. That password is already there. Then you enter the password. Then depending on what is your work, if you're working in a finance department, you get only that information. You're working in some other department, only you get that information, right? So this is the concept of the entire security that is embedded into the IT systems and in cyber domain, right? But at the same
Right.
time, there's always that threat of somebody coming in and taking the data, an unauthorized person coming in, taking the data out or accessing something that and causing certain amount of damage. That is where the security personnel come in. That is where people will come in saying that, okay, to either put that layer of security into it, or if security incident had happened, how to respond to it, right? If you just go to this particular slide, I'll just explain how a typical corporate organization is. So usually there is a chief information security officer on top, right, in a corporate who's heading a security organization. Under him, there will be some branches. Typically, there is this security engineering, security operations, and there is another organization called as governance, risk, and compliance. Okay, like common sense says, governance means basically making of policies. It's like how headquarters, people are sitting in service headquarters, command headquarters, or brigade headquarters. Making policies, making sure that people comply to these policies, kind of a thing, and giving a overall direction to the organization. Operations is what you do on daily basis. Right? Security operations are the ones which you do on daily basis. And architecture engineering are those specialized people who are, based on what are the policies, you're building your networks and infrastructure accordingly. This might be more specialized. What is more relevant to us is basically in the security operations, which forms almost 70 to 75% of the entire gamut of cybersecurity jobs that is available. The structure looks something like this. There are teams who are doing continuous monitoring. There are teams who are trying to do incident response. There are teams who are doing threat intelligence. That means they're gathering a lot of intelligence. Doesn't it sound very, very similar to what we are doing right now? Like there is a red team, Ghatak team ek hai, which goes on the other side and does some ops. But then if that Ghatak team has to go to the other side, they have to be supported by so many people over here. And also you have to secure your perimeter, right? Very, very similar is what is the security operations in any organization. In a typical organization, supposing a bank, if you overlap the ops that you are conducting, say at LOC or any other place, if you overlap that and put it, say, a banking domain, that means in banking domain also you need certain people go out and check actively Ghatak team type whether some vulnerabilities are there or not in my system. At the same time, there are certain people who are supposed to be gathering a lot of intelligence about who are our adversaries. There are some people who are doing continuous monitoring. There are people who are there only to do the forensics response to the incident, kind of a thing. So it's very, very natural for us to understand these things. So that is the reason why I say is that we are very suited for this kind of a job. And there is also general perception that there is the people coming from the armed forces already have that edge in cyber security. You already understand security. That means you understand, you 50% you're there, rest of it you have to arm yourself. I hope I've answered. I'll stop sharing it.
Right. Okay, before we go ahead, ladies and gentlemen, आप में से वो सब लोग जो अभी भी वैल्यू टॉक्स फैमिली का पार्ट नहीं है, I strongly recommend that you join Value Talk. We have Value Talk Telegram group, and we have Value Talk Google group, and there is a lot of data about jobs and courses, etc. Or armed forces officers in the corporate sector who are there. In सबका data is available है, and you please become part of Value Talk group, and we'll keep getting good content for you. And more the number in the family, easier it is for us to get industry bigwigs. So do join. I'm sure that it will benefit you. Okay, right. So that was a very nice explanation, and काफी simplify भी कर दिया भीम तुमने. I really admire this कि इतने simple तरीके से and simple example के साथ ये बताया कि why we have a natural advantage and what we can leverage as armed forces officers. Are there any success stories or examples of armed forces professionals who have successfully transitioned into the cyber security field?
Yes,
and especially if they are not from signals or IT related. this thing?
So, in fact, we all, most of us will have some of the course mates or some of those, the senior junior who have gone into the corporate and are doing well, right? So I'll tell one or two examples who have transitioned from absolutely zero. That means they had no IT exposure during the IT. Forget about information security. IT exposure during their tenure and all that. Just to take name, there is one Commander Pankaj Srivastava. He's a bit senior to me. I think 90 or 91 NDA equivalent somewhere there. So this officer is a marine engineer, out and out marine engineer, nuts and bolts guy. When he went out to service, he joined Mahindra Defense Systems in their the marine engineering arm, basically mechanical engineering arm. But later he saw the opportunity that there's a new organization that has been formed, Mahindra Defense Systems Special Services Group, which looks after Homeland Security and Cybersecurity Group and all that. So they really needed people. They're desperate for people. Okay, and a lot of corporates they're desperate for people in the cybersecurity field. That's a big advantage, right? So when he saw that there is an advantage, so he just did one or two small courses, and he got himself into that organization. And within 2 years, within 2.5 years of getting into that organization with a small course and getting yourself, and of course he worked hard to keep himself updated. Today, he is the national head of for the cybersecurity division of the Mahindra Defense Systems Special Services Group, right? And also the CEO, who's currently in fact, Captain Raghuram. Most of us must be knowing Captain Raghuram, who gives a lot of talks on TED Talks and all that. He was the first CEO of this particular group, right? And after him, another guy took over. His name is Jasbir Solanki. He's just one course junior to me. He is the CEO of the Special Services Group. He is also a marine engineer who took the Tarangini across the world. The first engineer officer who took the Tarangini, the sail ship across the world. When he came out, he came into this. He came from absolute no exposure in the IT. Came over. So these two guys are there in that same organization that I can tell of. But they are managing a very professional team of 45, 50 absolutely cybersecurity specialists there right now. And there are such stories. In fact, a lot of chief information security officers, they probably have some kind of IT background. People who have gone very quickly, climbed the ladder very quickly. I can remember of Commander Praveen Kumar. He is CISO Z and now Sony. Then I can talk. There is one Captain Kannan. I think he is this particular organization called as NetApp. Okay, he's the security officer there. His natural next progression is going to be chief information security officer.
What are the key factors that contributed to their success? I mean, you have named so many people, and I know there are quite a few others as well.
So if you say key factors, basically you have to keep yourself updated with whatever is happening earlier. Okay, if somebody is coming with certain amount of background with IT, like maybe I have, or Praveen, whose name I mentioned, was there in the IT setup in the Navy, but they were not specifically from the cyber security or information security. They also came from the IT domain, right? IT, and then they upgraded themselves into information security. There are some people who have not come out of this particular thing. So there are 2-3 aspects to it. So one is you have to study first, right? And when you have to study and when you have to get a specialization, then the go-to specializations in the market in cybersecurity especially are only certifications. There are no university programs. University programs are coming now. It is a very, very latest trend that university programs are coming up now. In fact, we have also partnered with one university for our work integrated MTech program. I'll come to that a bit later. But go-to is the certifications. So I'll again share my screen a little bit so that it will become a little easier for people to understand what these certifications are about and how you should upgrade yourself. I just mentioned. Okay, so you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, firstly, let me just come to this one particular slide where I had mentioned earlier that there are a lot of challenges industry is facing in hiring the professionals, right? So if there is a lot of shortage of skilled professionals in the industry. When I say, if you see, I've underlined skilled professionals. That means people might be there who have got a lot of knowledge about things, but then there's that particular skill that is required to write scripts or to once an incident has happened, you need to do a lot of technical something know-how to do the forensics, right? That is a kind of a skill that is there. It's basically like how, each one of us are trained in shooting. Till the time, you might have a lot of information about that INSAS gun or whichever gun you're, that, uska weight kitna hai, uska height kitna, all this you can take, that is knowledge. But if you sit down and actually are able to aim at the target and shoot, that is skill. And you have done over a period of time so that that skill is developed, right? So that is what is skill. So a lot of skilled professionals ki bahut kami hai industry mein. That is the biggest challenge that industry is facing. And also there's a lot of senior leadership and HR people are also not aware of what is happening, what is the kind of skill the people should actually bring in, right? And people who have entered into the cybersecurity industry, they also realize that the learning curve is very, very steep. They take a lot of time for people to go. And once the people actually get in and become a professional, trained professional, then they move on to get better jobs. That is what this industry is facing right now. So right now, the industry, a lot of people in the industry are actually looking for people who can work from day one, right? At the same time, we as veterans and also other working professionals also we are facing these problems only, right? Like we are facing, for us, lack of awareness is the number one problem. That what are the kind of path that is available for us to do to get a specialization in security, and what are the training path, any formal paths or university programs are available. So there are many. The bottom line is that many different starting points are there and entry points are there, but then most of us don't know where to start, right? And there are too many certifications, right? So let me just tell one thing to everybody: that's when you start your learning in cybersecurity is not about just one particular course or one particular boot camp or something like that. It's a journey that starts. And everybody in the industry, even if they have spent 20 years, will acknowledge that their journey is not complete. Cybersecurity is such a subject that will force you to keep yourself updated with everything that is happening in the outside world. So it's an exciting journey, actually, if you see. Not to discourage anybody, it's an exciting journey, but you have to start somewhere, right? So, like I said, you already have a certain amount of background in security, and you've got a lot of other things. So you should know what kind of certifications actually exist in the market. So in the market, majority of certifications that we see today fall under the category of knowledge certifications, right? There is this CEH, you keep hearing about CE, Certified Ethical Hacker. The name sounds very, very fancy, but then it's actually a very basic certification. Okay, then there are the CISM, CISR, then Security Plus certifications are available, then CISSP and all these things. So when you listen to these kind of certifications, you should note that these are those knowledge certificates. That means you're just studying these from a book or doing some exercises, and then you're going and writing an exam. That means retention is a bit less on this one. So, but there are certain other skill certifications also that are available, right? So when skill certification you mean like offensive security, you are actually put in an environment where supposing there are vulnerability induced network is there, you have to go and break that. Okay, but the entry point for the skill certifications is very, very high. That means you should always already be at a certain position, know a language, a lot of other things are there to enter this skill certification. So this dilemma is always there. So what you need in the market, what we realized is that you need a very balanced certification, a course that will have both skill and knowledge, is where we have come from. I'll not put this, 1 second, sir. I'll just stop sharing my screen. Otherwise, this is a confusing thing. I hope you have understood what I'm trying to say, is that there are a lot of certifications that are available in the market, but at the same time, there is confusion in the this thing. So you have to actually everybody has got a different path of this one. What we are doing is a little different. I'll come to that if the question, if you permit.
Right, Beam. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, all those who have raised their hand, I'll give you chance once I open the question answer session. So just hold your horses, be a little bit more patient. Beam, so this is the dilemma actually. When I want to join if I am somebody who's wanting to pursue a course in cybersecurity. So the dilemma I have is one that is the cybersecurity for me, that we have already answered. Second dilemma which is there is that do I have to go for a knowledge certification or skill certification? Am I suitable for a skill certification? And will knowledge certification have that kind of value. So the requirement is, what I understand from your answer is कि एक balanced course होना चाहिए जिसमें कि which gives you knowledge also as well as some kind of hands-on practice also, so that you build that confidence and gain that confidence and the concepts are more clear to you कि हो क्या रहा है इस domain में. Am I right in my understanding?
Yeah, you're right, sir. Actually, what I would say is that I've shown that particular screen where there are knowledge certification, where there are skill certifications. For those people who have got already exposure into the IT and InfoSec, while they are working in the Army, Navy, or Air Force, if they have already got an exposure, whether they have worked with the NUN, or whether they have worked with any IW groups or cyber groups or any other directorate of IT or something like that, then it makes sense for them to go for the knowledge certifications. And that are good knowledge certifications like CISSP or CISM or CISA. So these are good certifications. They've got a lot of value in the industry also. But you need certain amount of skill that is already there. That means you would have already worked, you would have managed, you could have probably managed some teams that are doing software development, or you have an exposure to this, the IT part of it. But if you don't have an exposure to the IT and you want to take on this career, which is natural, I would recommend a lot of people, everybody who's considering cybersecurity as a career, consider it very seriously, because there are a lot of vacancies. There is a lot of parallel induction, and I'll come to that a bit later, why another specialization that you might carry also might help you, right? So people who are considering specialization should get some amount of skill first, right? So that is a recommendation. Then you go on to the knowledge certifications, or find a balance. Okay. How do you go into skill certifications? There are these platforms, like Try Hack Me. There's a platform called Hack the Box. Then there is a platform called INE or EJPT. I will come to that. And there is a platform called as the very similar sounding name like us, OS Offensive Security, OffSec, they call it as. So these people offer labs. Okay, cyber range simulators and labs that are there, they make you available and you practice on them. Okay, so what you practice certain amount of skill, that means they've got a simulated environment, they've got a different types of websites, network, all these things, and they've got a lot of exercises lined up for you guys. Okay, you develop that kind of a skill, and then once you develop that skill and have certain but there are too many of them, there are a lot of them, and then you go into getting into some kind of certifications which will elevate your your knowledge into what is required for managerial level. Managerial means basically if you want to go into a good level, say mid-level management, as security managers, director security, chief information security officers, chief information officers, something like that, then you will need certifications like CISM, CISSP, which have got very broad coverage in the subject, but depth is very less in that. Right. So this is how the journey goes. So in fact, journey is quite, if you want to get into cybersecurity in the normal way, then it takes a lot of time, because each of these certifications to prepare itself takes you 3, 4, 5, 6 months to prepare these certifications, and these certifications cost a lot. Each one of them do cost a lot. So that's how the natural progression is. What we have done is to combine this and introduce a certification, introduce a series of certifications that will have a very balanced approach of both acquiring the skill and knowledge at the same time. Right? This is for the first time we have done in India, and of course anywhere in the world also, except for maybe some people are offering certain courses, tailor-made courses. But otherwise, a certification that has got both skill and knowledge together, we have launched that. So we've got the cyber range simulators going for us, where you develop your skill in Linux, in networking, practical networking aspects, threat intelligence, a lot of other things which are there. Whatever is, people are sitting in security operations center and doing that kind of skill, and the knowledge that is required for you to go into the mid-level management, which CISA, CSM do offer. That kind of a thing.
Beam, you have a simulated environment, so means
Yes.
you have simulators, the lab environment. If I join your course,
yes,
the offensive security course, so then will I be getting some kind of practical experience? What
yes,
people
exactly,
actually do in this?
exactly.
What
That is
is that?
exactly
Is that Jacob, just hold?
yeah,
Right.
transitional data
Okay.
set. Okay. So that's nice, actually. That's good to hear. Without any prior exposure, that means there is, see, why people without prior exposure to a certain thing also is going into a good managerial position is because there is a shortage. There is a statistic that says that there are 1.5 million jobs that are available today in India. 1.5 million jobs, and we've got just about 67,000 people that are, actually have the kind of skills that are required for the job. So the margin is huge. That means everybody has an opportunity to get into that, because every industry now, every company now has to go tech. There is no other option left with them, and cybersecurity comes as part and parcel of it, right? I'll just did I answer the question, sir, or should I share my screen and show as to what we are doing right now?
Yeah, you can show. I mean, what is the kind of
So I
lab
was
environment you have?
Yeah, I was talking about the cyber range simulator. So what we have also done is we have partnered with the best in the market right now, and from across the world. We have partnered with companies like Range Force. I took the names of Hack the Box, Try Hack Me. They are our partners. In fact, we hold exclusive partnerships with certain companies for India, for that matter, and we market their products also. And they give us the simulated environment, and we curate the courses based on what is actually required for a complete non-tech person to come in, settle in, and then we also give the knowledge sessions and all that. So we run courses in hybrid mode actually. So just to show, I don't know if it will be kind of selling my course. In fact, if that is all right, I'll share my screen and I'll just share.
No worries. You go ahead. I mean, what is it that I mean, it is when we select a course and if we don't have any prior knowledge, what is the kind of course we should go in for? People need not go in for offensive security course only. But I don't know which are the other courses offering such kind of thing.
Yeah, I will come to that, sir. We'll come to that. And specific questions also, I'll answer that. I'll just say what we are doing, because the thing has come about how to develop your skill and how to develop your knowledge at the same time. Because at the moment, either you go for skill certifications or you go for knowledge certification. Across the world, it's the same thing. It's not just in India. Across the world, it's the same thing. The options are not too much. So what we have done that is different is this. And how we have gone about also will show. So to be successful in the industry, to get a hold of the subject, what do you need? You need very, very strong foundations, right? And you need certain amount of practical knowledge that we have come across. That means if you have done something on your own, or use something that in a simulated environment, at least, to develop certain amount of skill and to develop certain amount of experience. There are some people who've got experience, some people who don't have experience, but then it is important, right? And also you need to have a good mentor, or you need to have to get into the cybersecurity industry. It's very, very important to find a right mentor or the people who will guide you in the correct manner. And also you will need some kind of really hard work, and even real perseverance that I cannot take it out from here. I cannot say that everything is rosy and all that, but you will need to put this hard work. Why I put that in red is hard work is your part. Rest everything else we are giving as offensive defense as part of our courses. We are giving everything else that is required, including career support, right? That means taking you up to the career interview table for people who are interested. So what we have done is this particular course. This is our flagship course, which is called as Offensive Defense Certified Professional. Blue is the name because blue teaming is defensive security, red is offensive security, right? Red teaming, you will need a lot of background to get into the profession, but blue team is the beginning and also the defensive security. It is like the soldiers' regular security operations that you do comes under the blue team, right? So we have launched this as part of a fully as a integrated career assurance program. That means you have a simulator-based skill development also, and then we've got interview preparations and soft skill training and all that, which might not be very relevant to most of us right now because but it is relevant to people coming from outside, whether working professional students for us. And we also have something called a cyber apprenticeship. That means real-time exposure with some leading corporates as part of this particular course. That means you develop your knowledge, and we also run this in form of hybrid standard, wherein there will be a lot of knowledge sessions from the industry experts, and you're gaining skills on these simulators which are there. And these simulators are very, very matured because the partners that we have got are among the top 10 in the world for the simulated environment and all that, which has got about, it's almost like these simulators have got cyber defense and cyber attacks and real life scenarios and all that, which gives almost like the environment of that. It will make you as if you're sitting in a security operations center and conducting the operations in a real time. And how we do it is we start from absolute basics. It is assuming that people come from totally non-tech, non-IT background. You're given exposure to Linux, you're given exposure to SQL, and one more language that is required. And then you start from basics and build up slowly into advanced skills. And it's very, very emphasis is more on practical, and so that you're ready for the industry, right? So this is how we have developed this particular course, and we have come into this. So this is more like, there are a lot of topics that are covered. Not to confuse anybody, it is more like starting from the basics and take you to the level where it is required, where 80% of jobs in the industry are today. 80% of the industry today are in that particular bracket of security operations. We take you there. From there, it can be built up. Right, I'll
Right.
stop sharing my screen so that.
Right. Thank you, Bhim. And before I open the question answer session, ladies and gentlemen, as I requested earlier, to join Value Talks family, Value Talk Google group is a repository of very, very valuable data. We in the Value Talk family we have got groups on, I mean, in a wide variety. You name a thing and we have it. We have legal group where you can seek your legal advice on various things. We have financial or real estate advisory group. We have career advisory group. We have matrimony. We have travel advisory. We have marketplace for your various electronics and other high ticket items. So you name a thing and we have it. So this is, plus we have this Value Talk Google group where we have job data, we have data of various armed forces officers who are in the corporate sector. So we are trying to empower you on almost everything which requires, kind of is required for making your transition, if you're from armed forces, to the corporate sector very, very smooth. And if you're not from armed forces, even then, the kind of value we are providing is immense. Please do make use of these things. Become Value Talk family member. And if you are already a member, then please spread the word and make sure that the number increases. So with this, I stop the recording.
You gotta focus on yourself, on your faith, on your dreams, on your mind, on your health, yeah.